The jungle was alive with whispers, not the kind carried by the wind, but something deeper, something unnatural. Every tree stretched tall like a tower of bone, their roots twisting like the claws of buried monsters. Thick fog wrapped around the ground, and strange green lights blinked between the vines. Like eyes watching from the dark, the human, Ethan Cross, had been warned not to enter. Locals called it the Forbidden Jungle. They said no one came out alive. But his mission had left him no choice. He had to cross it, or die trying. His boots sank into wet soil as he moved forward. Every step echoed louder than it should. The air was heavy, almost poisonous, and insects the size of his hand buzzed around his head. Sweat dripped down his back, though the air was cold. It wasn't just heat. It was fear. Then he heard it. A voice. Soft, broken, fragile. Stop. Don't go further, the voice said. Ethan froze, his hand reaching instinctively for the knife on his belt. Out of the mist, a figure emerged. She was not human. Her skin glowed faintly under the moonlight, pale silver with streaks of faint blue, like rivers flowing under her flesh. Her eyes were large, luminous, reflecting every bit of light in the darkness. She was beautiful, too beautiful for this cursed place. Yet there was terror in her voice. You should not be here, she whispered. The jungle will eat you alive. Ethan's eyes narrowed. And you? Why are you here? She didn't answer. Her gaze flicked left and right, like she was searching for something in the shadows. Then suddenly, her body stiffened. She gasped, her eyes wide with pain. From the corner of his eye, Ethan saw it, something long and black sliding through the mist. It moved fast, silent, like a whip. Before he could react, the creature struck. The snake, if it could even be called that, was massive, its fangs dripping with glowing venom. It lunged at the alien woman, biting her deep between her thighs. She screamed, a sound so raw, so desperate, it cut through the jungle's endless noise. Her body trembled as the venom surged through her veins, glowing blue under her skin. She collapsed onto the ground, her legs twitching, her breath uneven. Ethan slashed with his knife, barely grazing the snake's scales. The beast hissed and retreated into the shadows, its glowing eyes lingering before disappearing back into the fog. The alien female lay on the ground, clutching herself. Her silver skin turned pale as the poison spread upward. Ethan dropped to his knees beside her. Her voice was faint. The venom, it kills in minutes. Ethan ripped open his pack, searching for anti-venom. But this wasn't Earth. This wasn't a normal snake. There was no cure for something like this. Her hand reached out weakly, gripping his wrist. No. There is one way. Her eyes locked onto his, full of both fear and something else. Trust. Ethan's mind raced. He had been trained for survival. He had read about old methods, primitive but sometimes effective. The only way to stop a venom, this close to the bloodline, was to draw it out by mouth. But the place the snake had bitten her, his throat tightened. His hands trembled. She winced, tears gathering in her glowing eyes. If you do nothing, I die. The jungle around them grew louder, as if mocking his hesitation. Strange calls echoed from the shadows. Every second was a countdown. Ethan leaned over her, his face inches from her trembling body. The heat of her skin, the smell of blood and venom, filled his senses. He could hear her shallow breaths, feel her desperate grip on his arm. And still, he hesitated, because he knew once he did this, there was no going back. Her voice broke again, whispering with the last of her strength. Human, please, save me. The fog thickened around them, closing in like a curtain. Somewhere in the trees, something growled. Time was running out. Ethan clenched his jaw, his mind screaming at him, but his heart already knew what he had to do. He lowered himself slowly. The jungle seemed to hold its breath, and just as his lips touched her skin, something moved in the trees. Many eyes, Watching the alien woman's body trembled violently, her glowing veins spreading the venom like fire under her skin. Ethan could see it racing upward, crawling toward her heart. She gasped for air, her lips parting, her chest rising and falling too fast. Too weak. He pressed his hands against the wound, desperate to stop the spread, but it was useless. The venom pulsed like liquid lightning, ignoring his efforts. Eyes opened halfway, locking onto him. "You don't understand. Once it reaches my chest, I won't breathe." Ethan's pulse hammered in his ears. His training screamed at him to act, but his mind hesitated. It wasn't just about saving her. What he had to do went against every barrier of modesty, every rule of human instinct. But she wasn't human. She wasn't bound by his shame. Her trembling hand clutched his wrist again, tighter this time, her glowing nails digging into his skin. "Do it," she whispered, tears streaming down her silver cheeks. "Or I die here." The jungle grew silent, as if the forest itself waited for his choice. Ethan swallowed hard, his throat dry. He leaned down, pressing his lips to the wound, and drew in a sharp breath. The taste of venom was sharp, bitter, burning like acid. His mouth filled with fire, but he spat quickly, again and again, pulling out as much as he could. She groaned softly, her body shaking at every pull. Her voice was weak, trembling. It burns less. Don't stop." He forced himself to continue, even as his lips burned and his stomach churned. His mind screamed at him to stop, but the glowing lines on her body began to fade, just slightly, like darkness being pulled back by light. Then, a sound. A branch snapped. Ethan froze, his mouth still against her skin. Slowly, he lifted his head. From the fog, figures emerged. Tall, lean shapes, carrying long spears glowing with blue light. Their eyes shone like molten silver, unblinking. Alien warriors. They had been watching. The woman tried to speak, but her voice broke into coughs. The warriors' faces twisted in rage. One of them shouted in a tongue Ethan couldn't understand, pointing directly at him. The meaning, though, was clear. They thought he was dishonoring her. Ethan raised his hand slowly, trying to show he wasn't. A threat. His lips still burned from venom, and his chest heaved from the effort. "She was dying," he said firmly, his voice echoing in the fog. "I saved her." The warriors moved closer, their spears aimed at his heart. The woman, though weak, forced herself to rise. Her glowing skin still trembled, but her voice cut through the air like a blade. "Stop!" she cried in their language. "He saved me. Without him, I'd be dead." The warriors hesitated. Murmurs rippled between them. Their leader, a massive figure with scars running across his chest, stepped forward. His voice was deep, filled with judgment. "If this human truly saved you, then he must prove his honor. Words mean nothing in the jungle. Only survival speaks truth." Ethan felt his stomach sink. The woman shook her head weakly. "No, he is not of our kind." But the leader ignored her. His glowing eyes locked on Ethan, cold and merciless. "At sunrise, he faces the trial of blood. If he survives, he lives. If not," he raised his spear and let the word hang in the mist, "he dies." The warriors seized Ethan's arms, dragging him back. He resisted, shouting, "I didn't come here to fight. She was dying, I helped her." But they didn't. "Listen." The jungle swallowed his voice. The alien woman reached out with her last strength, her eyes wide with fear as they pulled him away. Her lips trembled as she whispered toward him, so soft only he could hear, "Forgive them. Survive, or they will kill you." Ethan's heart pounded, his teeth clenched. He knew one thing now: this jungle wasn't just forbiddens. It was a cage, a trial, a death sentence. And the worst part? The venom wasn't fully gone. He could still see the faint glow crawling higher on her skin. She wasn't safe yet, and if he died in their trial, no one would save her at all. The warriors dragged Ethan through the jungle, their glowing spears pressing against his back. The fog wrapped tighter around them, and the sound of drums began to echo in the distance low, steady like the heartbeat of some ancient beast. They pushed him into a wide clearing, where giant stone pillars stood half buried in moss. Fires burned in hollow skulls placed along the circle. The smell of blood lingered in the air. The trial of blood. The alien woman was carried behind them on a litter of woven vines. She was still weak, her glowing skin dimmer now, her breathing shallow. Every few moments her eyes flicked toward Ethan, silently begging him to survive. Ethan's jaw clenched. He wasn't afraid of beasts or weapons. He was afraid of leaving her to die. The venom still crept inside her, and if he failed here, she would never see another sunrise. The chief of the warriors raised his spear. Human, you touched what was not yours. You claim it was to save her. Then show us. Prove that your strength is real. Only a warrior who fights for another has the right to live. Ethan's hands were untied, but he was thrown into the center of the stone circle. The ground beneath his boots was stained dark red. The drums grew louder from the shadows. A cage was rolled forward. Inside, something stirred. Scales scraped against iron. A hiss cut through the night. The cage door opened. A beast slithered out, larger than any snake Ethan had ever seen. Its body glowed with streaks of blue light, the same venom that burned inside the woman's blood. Its mouth opened wide, revealing rows of fangs that dripped glowing liquid. The crowd of aliens cheered. Their eyes glowed in the firelight, hungry for blood. Ethan raised his knife, the only weapon they had allowed him. Of course, he muttered under his breath. It's never simple. The snake lunged, its body crashing against the stone pillar. Ethan dove to the side, rolling through the dirt. The beast coiled back, its massive head following him with unblinking eyes. He slashed at it as it struck again, but the blade barely cut through the thick scales. The knife was useless against something this size. The crowd roared. To them, this wasn't a fight. It was a sacrifice. The woman tried to push herself up, but the warriors forced her down. Her voice rang out, weak but fierce. No, let him be. He saved me. The chief snarled back at her. If he is meant to save you, he will live. If not, his body will feed the jungle. The snake struck again, this time faster. Ethan barely ducked, the fangs scraping past his shoulder. Pain sliced through his arm, warm blood dripping down. His breath came heavy. His mind raced. He couldn't win by strength. He had to be smarter. The beast circled him, its glowing body sliding through the dirt like a river of light. Its tongue flicked out, tasting his blood in the air. Ethan glanced at the fires burning in the skulls. An idea sparked. He sprinted toward one of the skull fires, grabbing the burning branch that jutted out. The flames roared, sparks flying. The beast lunged again, but this time Ethan shoved the fire into its open mouth. The snake screeched, thrashing wildly, its body smashing against the pillars. The crowd gasped, some even stepping back. Ethan seized the moment, plunging his knife deep into the softer flesh under its jaw. The beast writhed, then fell still, its glowing venom pooling onto the ground. Silence. Then the crowd erupted with shouts, some in anger, some in awe. The chief's eyes narrowed, his grip tight on his spear. Ethan stood in the center, his chest heaving, blood on his arm, fire in his eyes. He pointed the bloody knife toward the crowd. I didn't come here to dishonor anyone. I came to survive. And I'll keep surviving. For the first time, doubt flickered in the warriors' faces. But before anyone could speak, a low hiss filled the air. Ethan turned. His stomach dropped. From the edge of the jungle, slithering out of the mist, came another snake, bigger, older. Its scales shimmered with gold instead of blue. The alien woman's voice broke into a whisper. The queen. The warriors fell silent. Even the chief's face paled. Ethan tightened his grip on the knife, but inside, His blood ran cold. If the last one was a trial, this one was execution. Asterisk. The queen snake slid forward, each movement shaking the ground. Her golden scales reflected the firelight, her eyes glowing like suns hidden in mist. Every warrior stepped back, lowering their spears. Even the chief dropped to one knee. Only Ethan stood his ground, knife in hand, his chest rising and falling with raw defiance. The alien woman whispered from where she lay, her voice trembling. No one fights the queen. They worship her. Ethan clenched his jaw. Worship meant death. Worship meant sacrifice. He wasn't about to let her die while these people bowed to a monster. The queen's head lowered, massive jaws parting, a hiss filling the circle like thunder. Her breath carried venom in the air itself, making Ethan's eyes sting. But then, she stopped. The golden serpent's tongue flicked out, tasting Ethan. She didn't strike. Instead, she coiled around him slowly, circling, her scales brushing the dirt. Her body towered like a wall of living armor, yet her fangs didn't pierce him. The crowd gasped. Murmurs spread. The chief rose to his feet, his face pale but his voice steady. The queen chooses. Ethan blinked, gripping the knife tighter. Chooses? What the hell does that mean? The woman's weak voice answered for him. If she spares you, you are no longer just a man. You are claimed. The serpent lowered her head again, stopping inches from Ethan's chest. Her golden eyes stared deep into him, as if seeing every memory, every weakness, every secret. Ethan didn't move. His knife shook in his hand, but his feet stayed planted. And then the queen pulled back. The crowd gasped again. The chief's voice thundered through the clearing. The jungle has spoken. The human is judged worthy. Ethan exhaled hard, the tension in his shoulders breaking. But the relief lasted only a second, because the chief wasn't finished. If the queen spares him, then his life is no longer his own. The alien leader pointed his glowing spear toward the woman. He belongs to her now, her guardian, her shield. If she breathes, it is because of him. If she dies, he dies. The crowd roared their approval. Ethan's gut tightened. He looked at the woman. She was pale, her veins still faintly glowing with venom. She wasn't safe yet. The queen slid back into the mist, vanishing without a sound, leaving only silence and the weight of her judgment. Two warriors dragged Ethan toward the woman, shoving him down beside her. He dropped to his knees, his eyes meeting hers. She tried to smile, but it was weak, broken. Now, you are tied to me. Ethan wiped blood from his arm, his knife still in his grip. Then we'd better keep you alive. The chief stepped forward, his face unreadable. At dawn, the bond will be tested. If you cannot keep her alive through the night, both of you will be given to the jungle. The crowd began to disperse, leaving fires burning low. Warriors stayed close, guarding, their silver eyes never blinking. Ethan bent closer to the woman. Her body was hot, burning from the poison. She whispered, almost too faint to hear, "There is still venom inside." "Only you can." Her voice broke. She didn't finish the sentence, but her eyes told him what she meant. Ethan swallowed hard. He had already crossed one line. But if the venom kept spreading, she wouldn't last till morning. His hand hovered over her trembling skin, his mind torn between shame and survival. He glanced at the guards. They were watching every move. The woman's glowing eyes pleaded with him. The jungle groaned in the distance, like it was alive, waiting for his choice. And then a loud crack echoed from the trees. One of the guards turned sharply, raising his spear. A shadow moved fast, darting between the pillars. Another sound followed a scream. A warrior collapsed, a spear driven through his chest from the darkness. The jungle was no longer quiet. Something else was here, something worse. The scream echoed through the clearing, sharp and raw. The warriors spun, their spears flashing, but the jungle had already swallowed the attacker. Fog rolled in thicker, curling between the stone pillars like ghostly hands. Ethan dropped lower, beside the alien woman, shielding her with his body. "Stay down," he whispered, though he knew she could barely move. Her skin still glowed faintly, the venom pulsing inside her veins. Another shadow darted across the firelight. A spear flew from the darkness, striking a warrior through the throat. He collapsed without a sound. The chief roared, his voice shaking the trees. "Intruders!" From the mist, figures stepped into the fire like different aliens. Their armor was darker, their faces painted with streaks of red. They carried blades carved from bone, eyes glowing a harsher silver. "Rivals!" The woman gasped, her voice breaking. "They are hunters. They take slaves. No one survives them." Ethan's knife tightened in his grip. He had fought wars, but nothing like this, caught between one tribe that wanted him bound and another that wanted him dead. The hunters didn't hesitate. They charged out. The circle exploded into chaos. Spears clashed, screams cut through the night, and the fires flickered. Under the storm of battle, Ethan pulled the woman back against a stone pillar, crouching low. But the venom was spreading faster now. Her body trembled, sweat covering her silver skin. She clutched at him weakly. "If you don't pull the venom out again, I won't last." Ethan's throat tightened. He could hear warriors dying around them, could see hunters leaping. Into the circle, blades dripping blood. He had no time, no space, no choice. He pressed close to her, ignoring the chaos, and lowered himself to the wound again. His lips burned as he drew the venom, spitting quickly into the dirt. Her breath hitched, her glowing eyes locking onto him, filled with both pain and something deeper trust. Need, maybe more, but then a roar thundered across the clearing. Ground shook. The stone pillar beside them cracked. From the broken earth rose something monstrous. The hunters froze mid-attack. Even the chief stumbled back. It was another snake. No, not just a snake. This one had 2 heads, each with dripping fangs, its body thick as a tree trunk. Its scales burned with both gold and blue light, a child of the queen and her venomous kin. The hunters looked at each other, suddenly terrified. The warriors dropped their spears, fear clear on their faces, but the beast wasn't here for them. Both heads turned toward Ethan and the woman. The chief's voice thundered above the chaos. "The trial has begun." Ethan's stomach dropped. "You've got to be kidding me." The 2-headed serpent struck. Ethan barely rolled with the woman in his arms, dirt spraying as fangs slammed into the stone. The pillar shattered like glass, raining fragments across the ground. He pulled her behind another pillar, his chest heaving. "You still with me?" he whispered. Her glowing hand weakly brushed his arm. "As long as you don't let go." The serpent circled them, its massive body grinding against the stone. Its eyes glowed hotter, its fangs dripping venom that hissed when it hit the dirt. Ethan searched desperately. His knife was useless against something this size. He needed fire again. Or something sharper. His eyes fell on the broken spear of a fallen warrior. He grabbed it, spinning it in his hands. Not perfect, but better than nothing. The serpent lunged again, both heads snapping. Ethan thrust the spear upward, jamming it into one of the open mouths. The beast screamed, venom spraying everywhere. But the second head struck, grazing his side, tearing through his shirt and drawing blood. Pain ripped through him, hot and sharp. His body staggered, but he refused to fall. He had promised her survival, and his life was tied to hers. The woman cried out, trying to rise, but her strength failed. Tears shone in her glowing eyes. "Please, don't die." The serpent hissed, coiling tighter, ready for another strike. Ethan's grip tightened on the bloodied spear, but then something shifted. The jungle itself seemed to move. Trees bent, vines dropped low, and from the darkness, more glowing eyes appeared. Not snakes this time, not hunters. Something else. Dozens of them, silent, watching. Ethan's breath caught. His wounded side burned. The serpent loomed above him. The woman clung weakly to his arm. And from the shadows, a voice whispered, "Not human, not alien, but deep as the earth itself. Human, prove yourself." The whisper from the shadows seemed to freeze the battlefield. Warriors and hunters alike fell silent, staring into the jungle mist. The two-headed serpent hissed, its golden and blue eyes flicking nervously toward the unseen figures. Even the beast seemed unsettled. Ethan tightened his grip on the broken spear, his side bleeding, his chest burning with every breath. The alien woman clung weakly to him, her glowing veins fading slowly but not gone. She could barely stand, yet her voice whispered against his ear, "They are the Watchers, spirits of the jungle. They see every trial." Ethan didn't care who watched. He only knew two things: the serpent wanted them dead, and the venom still threatened to finish her before the night ended. The serpent lunged again. Ethan shoved her behind him, planting his feet. He dodged one head, but the second struck his arm, ripping open fresh blood. Pain flared, but he used the moment to thrust the spear deep into the softer flesh of its neck. The beast screamed, twisting violently, its coils smashing against the pillars. Ethan was flung back, crashing against the dirt. His vision blurred, but before the serpent could crush him, a voice rose above the chaos. The woman, she stood barely, her knees shaking, her silver hair falling loose around her face, her glowing eyes locked on the serpent. She raised her trembling hands, chanting words Ethan couldn't understand. The fires flickered. The serpent hesitated. The Watchers moved closer, shapes of shadow, with eyes like stars, circling just beyond the firelight. They didn't interfere. They judged. Ethan forced himself to rise, staggering, blood dripping down his side. "What are you doing?" he asked, his voice hoarse. Her lips trembled. "Calling the bond. If the jungle tied you to me, then fight. With me, not for me, with me." The serpent struck again. This time, Ethan didn't step in front of her. He moved beside her. Together, they dodged, their movements clumsy but in rhythm, like they were already connected by something deeper than survival. Ethan's spear slashed one head, while her chant made the other falter, its eyes flickering with confusion. The crowd gasped. Never had they seen human and alien fight as one. The serpent roared, its body slamming both of them down. Ethan's chest pressed against hers as the coils wrapped tighter, crushing the air from their lungs. She cried out, her body trembling. Against his, he looked into her glowing eyes, fear and fire both alive in them. "If we die," he said through gritted teeth, "then we die together." But she shook her head weakly. "No, we live together." Summoning the last of his strength, Ethan jammed the spear upward into the beast's throat, while she pressed her glowing hands against the wound, whispering her chant. The spear burned with light, brighter than fire. The serpent shrieked, thrashing wildly. Its coils loosened, and Ethan pulled her free, dragging her out as the beast crashed to the ground. One head fell limp. The other hissed weakly, venom dripping. But the creature was broken. The circle was silent. Even the hunters, even the chief, stared in shock. The Watcher's eyes glowed brighter. Their whisper came again, chilling the air. "Human. She is yours, you are hers. The bond is sealed." The woman collapsed into Ethan's arms, exhausted. He caught her, his bloodied hands holding her trembling body close. For a moment, he almost forgot the crowd, the danger, the venom. All he felt was her heartbeat against his chest, but then her body stiffened. She gasped, clutching her leg. Ethan looked down. The serpent's fangs had pierced her again in the final struggle. Fresh venom glowed under her skin, racing faster this time. Brighter, hotter. Her glowing eyes locked onto his, filled with terror. "It's too deep, you can't." Ethan shook his head fiercely. "I won't let you die." He lowered himself again, desperate, ignoring the crowd's whispers. His mouth burned with the venom as he pulled it out, spitting into the dirt. Again and again. Her body arched under his grip, her breath trembling. But this time, it wasn't enough. The venom glowed brighter, racing toward her chest, faster than before. Her hand grabbed his cheek, her voice breaking. "If you try again, it will kill you too." Ethan's lips trembled, his mind racing. His life was already tied to hers. If she died, so would he. And in the shadows, the Watcher's eyes narrowed. Voice came once more, colder than death. "Choose. Her life. Or yours." The jungle was silent. Even the fires burned lower, as if afraid of what came next. The woman lay trembling in Ethan's arms, the glowing venom racing faster under her skin. Her breaths were shallow, her lips pale. The Watchers circled in the mist, their eyes shining like cold stars. Their voices layered together, deep and unearthly. "Choose, human. Her life or yours." Ethan's jaw tightened. His heart pounded like war drums. He looked into her glowing eyes that begged him not to risk himself, but he knew there was no choice at all. His life was already bound to hers. If she died, he died too. He leaned close, his voice a growl. "Then we both live. Or none. Of this means anything." The crowd of warriors and hunters whispered in disbelief. No one defied the Watchers. No one chose against the jungle. Ethan lowered his mouth to her wound again. The venom burned hotter this time, like swallowing fire. His throat seared, his chest tightened, but he didn't stop. He drew out the glowing poison with every pull, spitting it into the dirt until the ground hissed and smoked. Her body shook. Her nails digging into his arm. "Stop, you'll kill yourself." He ignored her. His vision blurred, his veins burning as the venom seeped into him. The Watchers whispered again, their voices sharp as blades. "He takes her death into himself." Ethan staggered but pressed on. The glowing lines under her skin began to fade, slowly, painfully, until her silver flesh dimmed back to normal. Her breathing steadied. Her eyes fluttered open, tears spilling down her cheeks. She was alive. But Ethan's body convulsed. The venom surged inside him now, glowing faintly in his own veins. His chest burned, his breath ragged, his body trembling as if the jungle itself was tearing him apart. The woman clutched his face with trembling hands. "No, not you, not after everything." The Watchers' voices rose again. "The bond is sealed, one life shared, one fate decided." The chief stepped forward, his spear raised high, his voice trembling for the first time. "He should be dead. No human can take the venom. Yet, he still breathes." Ethan's eyes burned like fire as he rose to his feet, barely steady. He still held the broken spear, his veins glowing faintly under his skin. His voice was hoarse, but strong. "I don't care what your jungle says. I don't care about your gods, your trials, or your fear. She lives because I said so. And as long as I breathe, no one touches her." The warriors stared, stunned into silence. The hunters backed away, muttering in fear. Even the chief lowered his spear, his face pale. The woman pulled herself up. Beside Ethan, leaning against him, her strength slowly returning. Her voice rang out, soft but unshaken. "He is mine. The jungle claimed him. But so did I." The Watchers' eyes glowed brighter, then one by one faded back into the mist. Their voices echoed a final time, drifting away into silence. "The human has chosen. The bond of blood is unbroken. Let it be remembered." And then they were gone. Fires burned steady again. The jungle breathed once more. Ethan looked at the woman, still holding her close. His body burned with venom, but he forced a weak smile. "Guess we're stuck with each other now." Her lips trembled, but she smiled back, her glowing eyes soft. "Not stuck, chosen." The crowd of aliens, warriors, and hunters alike dropped to their knees, bowing low. For the first time, Ethan realized what had just happened. He wasn't just a survivor anymore. He had become something else. Something more, a human, who defied a jungle of gods. But before relief could sink in, the ground shook once more. From deep in the jungle came a roar, louder than anything before. The trees shook, the fires trembled, and the alien woman's face went pale. Her voice was barely a whisper. That wasn't the queen, that was the king. Ethan tightened his grip on the spear, the venom still burning inside him. His lips curled into a grim smile, then let him come.